Well, play that tiger rag. Clemson is a champion of the college football world after a resounding 44-16 win over its rival, the Alabama Crimson Tide. Quarterback Trevor Lawrence led the Tigers. He threw for 347 yards and 3 touchdowns to become the first freshman QB to actually win the national title since 1985. It is the second title for Clemson in the last 3 years and the third for the overall program. Bill Reiter, host of Reiter's Block on CBS Sports HQ, joins me now. So, Bill, this was a complete beatdown, was it, by Clemson? And how did the Tigers really pull it out together?
Yeah, it's the secret sauce of the rising greatness of Dabo Swinney, because, Rena, this was beyond a shocker. It was a beatdown. It was a thrashing. And in short, Clemson did everything well, and Alabama did almost everything poorly. Trevor Lawrence was amazing. That receiving core for Clemson was great. That secondary that a lot of people thought would be a weakness for the Tigers had that early pick six and the third throw of Tua's night. It was a remarkable performance all the way around for Clemson, and not a particularly good one for Nick Saban and his Alabama team.
No, it wasn't a good night for Saban, that's for sure. I want to talk, though, about Trevor Lawrence. You know, he's the leader of a national title winner now. He's still just 19 years old. What can he do to top this performance?
Yeah, maybe come back and win it next year or the year after. Trevor Lawrence and a cluster of young talent that was really dynamic, important last night, are going to return next year. There are 3, including Lawrence, true freshmen that were significant contenders last night, guys that made a huge difference. Travis Etienne was amazing last night, the running back. He'll be back. So what he probably does is no longer feels overshadowed by Kyler Murray and Tua Tagovailoa, the QBs we talked about in this college football playoff. The spotlight's on him. He's one of the best young players in the game, and he is just scary thought for the rest of the nation. He is just getting started, Rena.
Yeah, he certainly is just getting started. On the other side, Bill, we've never seen any team dominate Alabama just the way that Clemson did. What went wrong for the Crimson Tide last night?
Yeah, everything. This is the biggest loss in Alabama football since Nick Saban beat them when he was the LSU coach more than a decade ago. It's the biggest loss. It's the first time that a Nick Saban team has lost by more than 14 since he was an NFL coach a decade ago. You had the botched field goal, fake field goal, which was awful. You had the turnovers from Tua. They weren't able to get in the red zone. Interestingly, Rena, Alabama had almost as many offensive yards as Clemson did. They had well more than 400 yards offensively. They just couldn't score when they got in the red zone. It was so uncharacteristic of Alabama, these mistakes on special teams, the inability to close out drives. It was just an off night, and obviously the worst possible scenario where you can have one.
Was it an off night? I mean, uncharacteristic is such a good term for what we saw last night. Do you think this is the beginning of the end for the Alabama dynasty?
I'll say this. I don't, although I think it's the beginning of the end for prognosticators like me and everyone else in Vegas, too, who thought Alabama was going to dominate. I've heard from a lot of Clemson fans today. This Alabama program and Nick Saban, they're 55-4 over the last 4 years with 2 national championships, the exact same stats that Clemson has. So I think it's less the end of Alabama's dynasty and more the beginning of Clemson and Alabama battling each other for supremacy. It's still Nick Saban. They still have one of the best recruiting classes year in, year out. And despite the fact that they got destroyed, Tua's going to be back. He'll learn from this. It's still going to be a very good Alabama team next year. That
was my next question for you, Bill. Are we going to see round 5 of this epic rivalry next year?
I think we are. I mean, Dabo and Saban have each played each other in the college football playoff the last 4 years, twice in the national championship game. They each obviously got one win against each other to get the – actually, Dabo's got 2 of the last 3, and Nick's got 1. Yes, I think it is almost a certainty, and I say that as a guy who thought it was certain Alabama was going to win, but it's a very good bet that among the 4 teams that are playing in the college football playoff a year from now, 1 will be Clemson and 1 will be Alabama.
Looking forward to the season next year already. Bill Reiter, thank you very much for joining us, Bill.
Anytime. You bet.
And don't forget, you can watch Bill's show, Reiter's Block, every Monday through Friday, 5 p.m., only on CBS Sports HQ.